Madame Donut, and I own Donut Dynamite with my husband. We live and work here on Maui. We opened our store about 7 months ago in the town of Wailuku. And so far, it's going quite well. It's been really amazing how people have come to find us, and people people keep coming in. So we keep making donuts. I was born and raised in the Philippines, and I have 2 other siblings. And my mom have always been quite good at figuring out what our strengths were. My sister was very good at organizing the house, so she cleaned, and my brother worked the farm, and I ended up in the kitchen. So I've been cooking for the family since I was about 9 or 10 years old. We cooked in clay stoves, so I had to make fire about 3 times a day just to cook food for our meals. We didn't have refrigerators, so we needed to make fresh food all the time. My mom pretty much raised and grew most everything that we ate. So I have that background, or at least that awareness of using real ingredients, whole foods, without correlating it to health and nutrition. It just was. We didn't think about whether it was organic food or is it local. Of course it's local, it's from our backyard. And of course it was organic because whatever she raised, or any leftover food, we fed our animals that we later ate. Everything was pretty much self-sustained, and it was really more, I think, because we were poor. And I think that being poor, in a way, helped us become more in touch with our food and making fresh food. Many years later, when I moved to the States, I got interested in sports and exercise. So I actually majored in exercise science and forgot about cooking for a while until about one summer I had to buy a KitchenAid for a friend, and I thought I'd buy myself one too because it was really cute. I found an orange KitchenAid. It looked really good in my studio apartment, and then I thought maybe I should use it. So I borrowed my friend's book called Baking with Julia Child, and I said, I'll make croissants, just like that. And he said, croissants, why don't you start with cookies or brownies or something more simple? I was like, I want croissants. It sounds interesting, intriguing, and complicated. So I made my first croissants, and they turned out really good, and I was really inspired. So I started making more and more pastries, and then I switched my focus from exercise science to making pastry. So Frank and I met at school. He was a class ahead of me. He had already gone to the CIA in New York, so he already had his degree in culinary arts, but he decided he wanted to learn more about pastries and wines, so he moved to Napa Valley. We met. We were doing an event called The World of Flavors, and we were working together. We hardly really knew each other at the time, and he was pulling out some naan bread, the Indian bread, from the oven. And this guy, I tell you, can touch like flames and not even act like it's hot. So I realized they were coming straight from the oven, but the way he was holding them, it was like, okay, room temperature. So I grabbed one and dropped one. It was like, whoa, that's hot. It's like, oh, delicate hands, huh? And at the time, I needed to prove myself, I was new in the industry, so I held on to those breads like it didn't hurt. I was like, ouch, deep inside the whole time. But I was holding on to those while I was buttering them, and somebody had come in and asked us if we needed help, and he was like, I think she's got it. And I was like thinking, yeah, you're right, I got it. But I think I gained this respect from then on, and the rest is history. Now we've been married for over 10 years. We've been together almost 13 years, and now we work together and own this business. I always loved donuts. My very first job was actually at Dunkin' Donuts when I was 15. I don't know if I'm allowed to say that. But at the time, I did not make the donuts. I worked the front of the house. But I think my awareness of donuts kind of came about around that time when I was 15. I did not think I was going to be making donuts for the rest of my life after that. But you always have a soft spot for it. It's my first job. First paycheck makes you feel extra amazing. It's like, oh, look at me. I'm independent now, even if you can't actually pay rent with that first paycheck. But it felt good. So many years later, I became a pastry chef. Somehow, I would always sneak in a donut on the pastry menu in every place that I worked at. I always thought it was fun. I always thought donuts I can speak through donuts. Like, I express myself through donuts. I think donuts are very humble, and also they're the underdog of the pastry world. And I found it to be challenging, changing people's minds about donuts. Because when I tell people I wanted to make donuts, they're like, really? You're a CIA-educated pastry chef. You want to make donuts for a living? And I say, yeah, because I'm going to change the world through donuts. I wanted to change people's view of something that could be so simple and humble and not usually regarded as something regal. So when I decided to start a donut business, I thought, we'll make brioche-style donuts. Brioche is pretty much in the same family as croissants, which was my first baking project. It's actually called the rich man's bread in the pastry world. It's an enriched dough. It has a lot more eggs and butter than any other dough out there. It's also probably one of the more complicated doughs to make, just because you can't just add everything, mix it all together, and step away. It's really an emulsion, if you think about it. You emulsify the butter really well. If you don't, you end up with a really greasy product that tears apart. It's nutrition, we're not creating necessarily what you would call healthy food. We're creating a healthy attitude about food. To me, eat your greens, eat your fruits and vegetables. For the most part, 90% of the time, you should be eating well, good food. But when it comes to flavor, don't skimp out. Because when you're happy about what you're eating, I think that's a healthy feeling, a healthy attitude. I was once asked, hey, you're going to be in business. Are you fulfilling a need or a want? And I said, I'm fulfilling a want. You know why? It's so boring to fulfill a need. You need to stay healthy. You gotta do it. You gotta exercise. You gotta take your vitamins or whatever. You go to the market. I'm gonna get my toothbrush today and my whatever you need that day. Do you think you'd be jumping up and down when you go get your toothpaste? You need that. But when somebody walks in here, it's like, oh my God, a donut! And like the face, that excitement, it's like, oh my God, this is so good. Nobody says that about a salad. I'm so sorry, but that's the truth. But people come in here and they get so excited and just look at me like, oh my God, thank you so much for doing what you do. And that's fulfilling a want. I want people to be excited about what we do, and they are. And we're going to continue to do what we do until those faces disappear, but they keep coming.